Thank you for joining us for the first completely virtual Campfire chat. We're thrilled to be transitioning our popular in-person series to the web and into your homes. In case you're joining us for the first time, we're the Girl Scout Network, a powerful community of adults, Girl Scout alums and supporters from across the country who believe in preparing girls to be the leaders of the future and supporting each other today. At the end of the show, we'll tell you how you can directly support today's Girl Scouts through the cookie program. More than 50 million women were Girl Scouts in their youth. If you were a Girl Scout, a Daisy, Brownie, Junior, or higher for at least a year, then you're an alum. And if you're reconnecting with us now, welcome back to the Girl Scouts Sisterhood. We hope that you'll enjoy the event today, that you'll send your questions for Sonam in the chat box. I'll be moderating the log and sharing them with Sonam as we go. We'd also love to see your own baking adventures with Girl Scout cookies. Tag your social posts, pictures, and questions with hashtag Campfire Chats and @Girl Scouts. Now, allow me to introduce Sonam Sondhi, a graduate of the world's renowned Culinary Institute of America, executive pastry chef, and an entrepreneur who opened Chocolate Kiss Bakery in Manalapan, New Jersey at just 21 years old. We became acquainted with Sonam when she won the first episode of the Food Network's Girl Scout Cookie Championship. Today, Sonam is going to teach us how to make a simple homemade custard and then show us how to use that as a launching point for a variety of show-stopping desserts using Girl Scout cookies. Sonam is a proud Girl Scout alum and a graduate of Girl Scouts Cookie Program. Hi, Sonam. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes. Before you start walking us through how to make the custard, will you tell us more about what the cookie program meant to you as a girl?
I don't know that I would know that at that age. Looking at it now, especially being reunited with so many Girl Scouts after being on the Food Network and hosting tours with them at the bakery, it really gives you a sense of empowerment. I mean, these girls are kind of pushed out of their comfort zone and, you know, selling cookies, approaching people, facing sometimes rejection, pitching of, you know, why they should buy the cookies, trying to explain like which cookie is their favorite. I think it gives you a lot of confidence. I think it gives you a great understanding of business, of responsibility, of math, endless. I think it's a great program. I really do.
Great. Can't wait to get started.
Sounds good. So we're going to make custard today, or pastry cream, known as both. This is a super simple recipe. I know that baking can be a little like, ugh, and so we resort to box mixes, and though they are wonderful, it really actually isn't that difficult. As long as you know the method, the ratios can tweak a little, and it's not always so on the nail with the actual recipe itself. So the recipes for the anglaise and the custard are in the handout section that the Girl Scouts have given you that I'm going to be making today. So we won't go over exact numbers, but for the custard, we have in here milk, salt, and some of the sugar. We're going to bring that up to a boil. And as that's boiling, I've already started with cornstarch and sugar, the rest of the sugar in here. It helps break up the cornstarch so that it doesn't clump when you slowly start to add the milk in here. So we're going to do that. And while that's heating up, we're going to strain a little bit of the milk at a time to make sure that it does not get lumpy. And then when that is nice and smooth, just want to keep an eye on your milk. Make sure it doesn't boil over. So you want to get all the cornstarch off the sides. And I have 2 egg yolks that I have separated. You want to take 2 egg yolks and add those into the mix. So you have this beautiful gluten-free mixture. Our milk has started to come up to a boil. So you want to be really patient with this. You know, you're using sensitive stuff. You don't want the eggs to curdle and turn into scrambled eggs. So we're going to add this mixture. Well, I'm sorry, no, we're going to actually add the milk into the egg mixture. Why this is really important, and really luckily I caught myself doing that, but if you just take these really cold eggs and you put them into the milk, they're going to curdle. So what we're going to do is temper them, which is bringing simply the eggs up to temperature to match the milk. So by adding a little bit of the milk at a time, you're slowly bringing up the temperature of the rest of the ingredients so that they don't get shocked when they go into the pot. So you put the pot back on here. And when you add everything back, nice and gentle, now you don't want to step away. Really, with all of it, you don't want to step away. You want to start this on a medium-low heat and begin whisking it pretty much nonstop. What this is going to do, the cornstarch in here prevents the eggs from coagulating, but that's what's going to thicken the pastry cream. So the cornstarch only really gets activated once it comes to a boil. So it's imperative that we bring it to a full boil, but after that you want to stop it because you don't want to overcook it and you don't want to cook the eggs too much into a scramble. So you'll see that it's going to slowly start to thicken. You'll have a little bit of a foam on the top because you're whisking it. And on your recipe, you'll see that you want to have an ice bath ready. An ice bath is just 2 bowls, a larger bowl on the bottom with ice and a little bit of water, and a bowl inside that's a little bit smaller but fits really well in it. That is going to allow us to cool the pastry cream down really quickly and not continue to cook it. Sometimes you'll see as it starts to thicken, it slowly started coming to a boil. I pulled it off the heat, so now I'm in control of it. I want to know where we're at. I want to make sure that everything is really well incorporated, and then I can put it back on, and you'll see pop, pop, it's come to a boil, and that's it. If for any reasons you felt like there was lumps in here or you weren't happy with it, you could strain it. I luckily do not, and thank God, because that would be embarrassing. So we're gonna cool this down into the bowl. Don't waste any of this. This is the best stuff. So go ahead and get a rubber spatula, scrape out all the goodness, and you want to begin to cool it. The last 2 ingredients is butter and vanilla. If we added the butter right to this, it would melt, which we don't want. We don't want it to melt into the pastry cream. We do want it to add a nice silky smoothness to it. So as this cools down a little bit in the ice bath, you'll see it's steaming off, which means it's rapidly cooling. You can then go ahead, and I put the vanilla right in here as well. So I have vanilla extract in here, and I have about a tablespoon or so of butter. So you're gonna go ahead and put that in and allow it to incorporate. So now for variations of this, you can see like literally maybe 5 ingredients and very few minutes. Granted, I had them measured out, but these are all things we have at home. We have generally butter, milk, sugar, cornstarch, and now you have a beautiful custard. With this custard, we use vanilla extract just now. You can use any extract. You can make it absolutely your own. So you can add coconut to it, you can add chocolate to it, you can eat it just like this. This also freezes beautifully. So the variations that I'm going to show you, you can always make a large batch, keep it in the freezer, and then always be able to whip up amazing desserts in a jiffy. So as this cools down, normally if you weren't going to use it right away, like I'm gonna in a trifle, in a little bit, you can wrap it, and you want to put the saran wrap right on top of the pastry cream or it's going to form a skin. So you're going to wrap it, put it right on top, and put it in your refrigerator for it to cool on its own. But we're going to go ahead and let it cool down until we're ready for it. I did yesterday go ahead and prepare for you a variation of the pastry cream. So I didn't have whole milk in the house. I had almond milk. So I made a dairy-free version. So of course this is also gluten-free. So great for gluten-free friends. And now you can make it dairy-free. It's not vegan because it does have eggs in it, but this has almond milk. And then I actually just nixed out the butter. I didn't have a butter substitute, so I just took it out. It's only a tablespoon and it's still delicious. So we're making a version of dirt cups with this. You would take your, any cookie really, but my favorite for this is the Tagalongs. So I took a box of Tagalongs, I put them in the food processor. I grind them up, but you know, nothing, it's not rocket science. So some big pieces, some small pieces. Broke them up a little bit. You can go ahead and put a spoonful or so at the bottom. I'm sure we all have some shot glasses at home. And then I took some peanut butter, probably about 2 tablespoons, and I put maybe half a tablespoon to a tablespoon of oil just to thin it out so that it is a little bit more fluid and not so chunky in the mouth when you eat it. So you can go ahead and put maybe a drop or 2 of peanut butter. And then you take your amazing custard. So this is the dairy-free option. And then you go ahead and repeat it again. You have cookies and peanut butter. Custard. And then when I was food processing, I had a couple of big pieces. So you can just garnish with a couple of large ones. And then if you have a beautiful spoon on the side and you have these amazing shooters. So these are great desserts, and you can make so many variations, but these are great desserts that you can also prepare in advance. I would just do the same. Don't garnish them right away. Saran wrap them so that they don't form a skin. And then when your guests come, as dinner is being served, you can unwrap the tops of them, put the cookies in, put a spoon in, and now you can enjoy dessert and coffee and not be still slaving in the kitchen. So that is one variation of this amazing custard. Another variation is something called creme anglaise. So creme anglaise is the mother sauce that pastry cream is actually created from. Same ingredients. There is a little bit more heavy cream if you choose to put in there, or half and half. And there's no cornstarch. So you'll see because there's no cornstarch, it's much more liquid. And this is great for plating. So if you have a dessert or you have a beautiful cake that you've made, you can slice it, put down some fresh raspberries, some chocolate shavings, put this in a squeeze bottle and make really pretty designs, or just a nice splash on a plate and make it look really, really special for a special event. You can also then simply take this, and when this cools in the refrigerator, you'll see in the recipe that when you make creme anglaise, if you're using it for any purpose like ice cream, it's best to have it sit in the fridge for at least 12 to 15 hours so the proteins have time to relax and everything has time to thicken. Because the eggs is what's thickening it, it has a lot more egg yolks than the 2 egg yolks in here. So it needs time for the proteins to kind of relax. So at the time that I put my creme anglaise into the fridge, I took my KitchenAid ice cream machine and I put this into the freezer. So this has like a water bath, the way that we made in there. It's built in to the bowl and that freezes. So when you put the creme anglaise into the bowl and start churning it, it starts to slowly incorporate air while freezing simultaneously. And you stop it when it comes to like a soft serve consistency. Again, you don't want to step away from it because the fat in the cream or half and half will curdle and you'll get butter. That's how butter is made. Heavy cream whipped up, you got some butter. But you don't want to make butter with this. So you want to bring it to about soft serve consistency. You put it into a container and you have amazing vanilla ice cream. So we're going to go ahead and take that vanilla ice cream, and we have my other favorite, I mean, I really not have a favorite, but my other favorite Girl Scout cookie, Thin Mints, and you can keep it plain vanilla. You can have a sundae station, a sundae bar, and have your plain vanilla and let everybody make their own, like an ice cream station. So you would take your vanilla ice cream, you would take some Thin Mints, again, ground up, some chunky, some not, and you, as much as you like, there's no ratios here. If you want it really minty, add lots of mint. If you don't like it too minty, I mean, who doesn't like Thin Mints and frozen? So I would just add all of it, but that's actually about a box of them. Mix them in, and you can keep some chunky and larger pieces like these, and you can toss those in there or use that for garnish, and you have Thin Mint ice cream. This probably took me maybe a half an hour start to finish last night, besides like the time in the fridge. So I promised you guys, it's really, really, really simple, and it's really not that scary. So coming back to our pastry cream, this has had time to cool down, and you can see in just a matter of few minutes, it has thickened up significantly. So now to make the chocolate version for our Tagalongs, I had just taken dark chocolate that I had in the house, and I had about a bar and a half. I broke it all, and I just kept adding it to the egg mixture until I felt like it was how dark I wanted it. Keep in mind though that I used a 72% chocolate, so it doesn't have as much fat content in it. It has 72% cacao. If you're using a chocolate chip, like a mass production chocolate chip or a milk chocolate, they have higher fat content in it, so your pastry cream will be much more loose. That's not really a problem unless you're building a cake with it, which we're going to do next week. And we're going to freeze that, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So then from there, you can add peanut butter straight to this custard. You can add coconut flakes. You can add nuts. Make it however you want. We are going to make a trifle. A trifle is like a beautiful, deconstructed, fun cake that doesn't have to be so fancy. And you could just dig in with a spoon like everybody really wants to do. You can have a large one for holidays, special events, Christmas, gathering, or you can do small ones where, you know, just you and a special person or special people. Or you can then do the miniature version and turn it into a shot glass. These trifles can be in multiple variations. We're doing the Samoa. The Samoa is what I used for my competition, and I love, 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 love them. But you can also make this gluten-free by using the Toffee-tastic gluten-free cookies. And since this is gluten-free, you can layer those, and then you have an amazing gluten-free dessert. You can make it gluten-free and dairy-free by adding the dairy-free pudding, but I'm not sure that these are dairy-free. No, there's butter in these. Sorry, they can't be dairy-free. So to make the trifle in here, this is just box cake that I had made, but we're going to show you how to make an amazing cake next week. This is a box cake that I made and just sliced up into small rectangles. You're going to need caramel. You can get store-bought. You can make your own, also very simple, just sugar, water, some salt, some butter, and some cream. Or if you have a can of sweetened condensed milk that you may have bought during the holidays for a pie and it's been sitting there forever, you take the wrapping off of here, you put it into a boiling pot of water, cook it for like 4 to 5 hours. The sugars in the sweetened condensed milk start to caramelize, and that's how you make dulce de leche. which you can eat on top of toast. You can put inside Thai iced tea. You could put it in your coffee. You could just eat it with a spoon in the middle of the night when nobody's looking. It's delicious. So I took the store-bought caramel and I added a little bit of water, so it's also still a little runny. And we're gonna put a piece of cake down and then a little bit of our custard. I wish you guys can smell this. Custard is my weakness, just because there's so much we could do with it. You're gonna do your custard. You're going to drizzle on your ooey gooey caramel. And then some Samoas that I had ground up. Again, all different sizes. And then I just took some plain sweet and toasted coconut and threw it in the oven, toasted it slightly so you get some nice color to them. Sprinkle those over the top and you repeat. So we do one more layer of cake, push it down. And as this sits for a couple of hours, oh, everything will come together and absorb and get mushy. This will be great for days, and you could eat this 3-4 days later and it would still be absolutely amazing. So you want to spread out your custard. And then you want to drizzle your caramel. But again, make this your own. If you like the lemonades or the lemon ups and strawberries, do some vanilla cake, ground up some lemonades, and put some fresh sliced strawberries. That would be amazing as well. We do some of this. We do some of this. And garnish it with a couple of these beauties. And there you go. You have your trifle, you have your Tagalong dirt cup, and you have the most amazing thin mint ice cream from just a few really simple ingredients that you probably have in your kitchen.
This looks absolutely amazing, and the chat box is just filled with people who are so excited to give this all a try. We have some questions if you're able to answer them. So if somebody doesn't have an ice cream maker, what's the best way to take the recipe and make ice cream?
So the idea is to bring it down to temperature while incorporating air frequently. So how a granita is made, where you would put a like a fruit puree, sugar and water, and then every couple hours you take a fork and you scrape it, and then you have these crystallized things to make a granita, or crystallized puree. It would be hard to do it like this, but I imagine you would be able to maybe bring it down to temperature and then maybe put it into a KitchenAid, a regular KitchenAid with a paddle, and incorporate air, and then bring it down to temperature, incorporate air. As long as you can bring it down to temperature and incorporate air simultaneously, that's what's going to give you the best kind. Of course, you can also just cool it down, whip it up, and even just whip it by hand and put it into a container, because there is cream in here. If you are going to do that, I would probably use a higher fat and not do the milk and the half and half, but do more heavy cream so that it gives you more of the whipping, so that as it cools down and you incorporate the air, it'll hold that texture, where the milk and the half and half isn't really going to hold it. So I would tweak the ratios in the recipe to have more whipping cream or heavy cream, and then incorporate that air and put it into the freezer, and then maybe keep agitating it as it freezes.
Great. So another question about substitutions was if you make these recipes with skim milk as well.
You can, but it's just like the low-fat ice cream that you would get in a supermarket. It absolutely would be great. That's when you want a little bit more of like a lecithin or a stabilizer, because the fat is what really holds everything together. You might have some separation as it settles in the freezer. It may just not have as creamy of a mouthfeel. That's where that granita taste might come from, where like if you ever have ice cream that sits in your freezer for a while that's low fat, it gets like ice chips in it. That's what happens because it starts to separate and the water starts to get frozen and it creates ice crystals. So you absolutely can. That's more so for the ice cream that it would be a concern, but for the pastry cream or the custard, I just used almond milk, and that's very thin, and it was no issue at all. So the pastry cream is not a problem. Skim milk's fine.
Trina asks, is custard similar to a pudding? She has an
Absolutely.
intolerance.
I'm
and is
sorry.
looking for, sorry, she has an egg intolerance, is looking for another suggestion for the custard.
So the egg is really what puts it together. I have not tested egg replacers. I know there are many, and that's how a lot of the box mix ones are made as well. So it's absolutely possible. But in this specific recipe, if you were to just omit the eggs, the cornstarch would absolutely thicken it because that's what is thickening it. You can still try it. It won't have that color though. The yellow color comes from it. So it would just be a little, I would add more of something so that it gives you more flavor because the yolks wouldn't be there. There's only 2 yolks in that, and the cornstarch is really what's thickening it up. So maybe make sure it's a chocolate one or something like that. But I would try it. You can try half of the recipe that's listed because this is a whole recipe. So try half and actually tell me how it is. I would want to know.
Yes, definitely. So we are wondering about any sort of about the creme de leche. Can you tell us more about that?
So dulce de leche is sweetened condensed milk. So all this is milk and sugar, and it's been sweetened and condensed. And so it's boiled down. Imagine taking like a gallon of milk and it's just reduced until this like thick syrupy consistency. So now you have high amounts of sugar in here. And so if you were to take this and with the can completely closed, you take off all of the paper on here so that naturally it doesn't burn or whatnot. You would take off the entire exterior of this can. Now I'm gonna have to make it, I'm gonna have to eat it all. Thank you very much. So you take the entire exterior out and you drop this into a pot of water, but you wanna just make sure that the pot completely covers, the water completely covers the can. So it should be completely submerged, and you can start it at cold temperature too. It won't make a difference if it makes you more comfortable and not sticking your fingers into a hot pot of water. Start it at cold temperature. Bring it up to temperature. You don't want the water to boil. You just want it to be right below boiling point. And the indirect heat will slowly caramelize all of the sugars in the milk, and it will turn into dulce de leche, or a very, very, very sweetened caramel, delicious, delicious caramel. Because regular caramel is sugar and water based with a little bit of cream or butter added at the end. But this is a whole different, it's a whole different experience. It's so delicious. Again, make a large batch. You're probably not going to go through all this. You probably shouldn't go through all of this right away. So you can freeze these into smaller containers and have it ready for you all the time. I used to make like 2 at a time because it cooks for 4 or 5 hours. Also, very important, when this cools down, do not open it while it's hot. You don't want it exploding on you. You have to bring the water down to temperature, or take tongs, take this out. You can put it in an ice bath, make sure it's completely cold before you open this.
That's great. So we have time for one more question, and we want to know, can you tell us about what it was like being on the Food Network show?
It was a dream come true. It really was. I'll get emotional. This is a dream come true. My parents owned a business and worked a lot, and especially on the weekends. And I spent most of my adolescent and childhood years watching the Food Network, and hours of it. I mean, Emerald Lagasse, Rachel Ray, like hours and hours, and I learned how to cook from there. And that was my entertainment. And my brother even joked at my wedding speech that like, oh, you became a chef. Who would have thought all those hours of TV paid off? But, and then so to end up on the Food Network, on something that's so dear to my heart, with the Girl Scouts, I am a huge advocate of empowering girls and women and children. And so to be on all of that and then win it, and then be doing my own live show with 800 people watching, it's like, I can't even, I can't put into words. There's no words to explain that many years of so many things took place to get me to this moment. And it's like, when you look at it, it's like, how do you not believe in destiny? How do you not believe that everything happens for a reason? You know, and I'm just so grateful.
Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to seeing you with our next couple of shows.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for watching, and thank you for coming to my kitchen and hanging out with me on a Saturday.
Bye, Sonam. And thank you for everyone for inviting Girl Scout Network into your homes. We'll be hosting a wide variety of campfire chats, so be sure to stay up to date with our offerings at girlscouts.org/campfire chats. Tune in next week when Sally Kroshak of Elevest teaches us how to make a financial self-evaluation in the midst of the pandemic. Then join Anne Choquette, author of The Big Life, in a panel discussion with Lauren Smith Brody, author of The Fifth Trimester, and Sarah LaFleur, CEO at LaFleur, about finding personal and professional stability in the age of COVID-19. And the following week, we'll have 2 more baking classes with Sonam, so you don't want to miss those. Are you hungry to bake with Girl Scout cookies, but you don't have any in your pantry? Don't fret. Cookie Care allows you to buy Girl Scout cookies and have them shipped safely to your home or directly to first responders on the front line of COVID-19. Help support the 1.7 million Girl Scouts depending on the cookie program to fund life-changing girl-led programs, experiences, and learning. Thank you so much. If you're watching live, don't forget to download Sonam's recipes, which are available in the handout section of today's presentation, and share with #CampfireChats and @Girl Scouts. We can't wait to see your masterpieces.